Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Okay, so let me thank Paul and Evelyn for inviting me to talk about the Ashtavakra Gita, sometimes called the Ashtavakra Samhita. This text is a beautiful example of the highest ideal of the non-dual vision. It's a text that is not part of the main literature that serious students of Vedanta have generally studied. It's a peripheral text, but it's a very important one, and it's held in high regard within the tradition of non-duality. I first came across the text in my 20s, and over the years I've read through it or read a chapter or heard people talking about it or referring to it. And most people who have read the text, they feel a certain intuition or simpatico with the author that they can somehow understand what he's getting at. Just by reading the text, there's 20 chapters, and Ashtavakra is teaching a royal sage, it's called the Raja Rishi, by the name of King Janaka. Now the text, I've been trying unsuccessfully to date the text. Who was the author of this text, and when was it probably written? There are many Indologists that feel the text is very ancient and was written BC. But many other scholars feel that it's a later composition that was probably in the 12th to 14th century AD. We won't get into the nuances of dating the text. For our purposes, it's not important. But what is important is a few things to be understood before we tackle the actual verses. There's a saying in Vedanta, in this non-dual Vedanta, which goes Adhikari Vedaha, Upadesha Vedaha. For different types of students, there are different types of teaching. Every student doesn't get the same teaching. The tradition was not a Vedantic teacher on Zoom teaching 16 people or 100 people or 1,000 people. The tradition was always one-on-one. If you look at the Upanishads, it's always a dialogue between a student and a realized master. In so many different instances, we have this. So this genre of the Ashtavakra Gita follows this type of dialogue between a teacher and a student. So let me tell you a little about who this teacher is, Ashtavakra. For those who are truly interested, they can Google it and get the full story. It's a long story. It's in the Mahabharata. There's a section that deals with this Ashtavakra, who he is, how he became to have that name. Ashta means 8, and Vakra means curves. This person, Ashtavakra, was so called because he was born with 8 deformities in his body. He had 2 deformed feet, 2 deformed knees, 2 deformed hands, a deformed chest, and a deformed head. So, and the way he got this was because when he was in the womb, his father, who was a great Vedic scholar, was in the habit of chanting the Veda. And it's very important that when you chant the Veda, every syllable and every how long the syllable is held and so many other rules. So when Ashtavakra heard his father, he said, "Dad, you made 8 mistakes." So the father was so enraged by this, he says, "I curse you to have 8 deformities." So he comes out, he's got these deformities, but he's a genius in the study of the Vedanta scriptures. And as the story goes, his father gets into trouble because he's defeated in the court of King Janaka. And so to rescue his father, he goes to the court to defeat another scholar in debate. And if he wins, his father gets freed and he wins the debate. And Janaka is so impressed that he says, "I want you to teach me." So this teaching, even though Janaka is considered a highly enlightened king, he's still not fully realized. And Ashtavakra was supposed to be the realized sage, and he's going to teach King Janaka. There's a famous verse where Janaka says, "Even if my whole kingdom burns, nothing of mine is burnt," which shows that he's very detached king and has wisdom, etc. But he's not self-realized. So he approaches, but he's what's called adhikari. He's qualified for the highest teaching. We have to understand, because the Ashtavakra is teaching from the highest point of view to the highest qualified student. The student who has the qualities that make them qualified to study Vedanta primarily are a burning desire for liberation and a dispassion for the pleasures, the impermanent pleasures that we find in the world. Those are the main qualities. There are others, but those are essential. Vairagya and mumukshutva, desiring liberation and having dispassion towards not only the pleasures in this world. There are some people who think that they're religious and say, "I don't care about this world. I'm interested in the pleasures of the next world, in heaven." But the student of Vedanta has concluded that whether it's pleasure here or pleasure in heaven, if you have to go there, it's going to be impermanent. It'll have a beginning, it'll have an end. So that type of discrimination, which brings about dispassion towards those objects, because the one who wants liberation is really seeking lasting happiness. That's what liberation means, unending happiness. I have a YouTube for those who haven't seen it, it's called The Five Fundamentals of Vedanta. And in that discussion, I mentioned as one of the fundamentals that have to be understood is the difference between when the teacher or the text is talking from the absolute point of view, and when the text or the teacher is speaking from the what's called the empirical or relative point of view. In Sanskrit, this is called Paramartha Drishti and Vyavaharika Drishti. So let me just briefly describe what these two views are, because the text that we're going to be looking at, and the reason why so many people are fond of this text, is because it's talking mostly from the absolute point of view. There's not much talk from the relative or empirical point of view. Ashtavakra just takes you right to the final thing without much reasoning, without much investigation. He just gives us a few little hints, which I'll try to bring out from the text, and talks from this absolute point of view. So let me just briefly remind people who have seen that tape, and for those who haven't, when we say the absolute point of view, what we really mean is that from the absolute point of view, there's just one reality without a second. That's called Advaita. No duality. There's just one reality. In that reality, there's nobody in bondage. Nobody needs to be liberated. There's no gurus. There's no teaching or Vedanta. There's no time. There's no space. There's no creation. There's no destruction. There's nobody caught up in birth and death. All of that is not the absolute point of view of Vedanta. And all the teaching about you don't know the self, because of your ignorance, you're suffering, and when you get rid of that ignorance, you'll be free. All of that is not the absolute point of view. So it's important when we read a text like this, when is Ashtavakra speaking from the absolute point of view? And when, on occasion, does he come down to our level and speak to us from the relative point of view? If we keep that distinction in mind, the text becomes much clearer. So two things. The person who this teaching in this text is intended for is someone who's extremely highly qualified. Not like people like us. We'll study this text. You'll see what you get out of it, but you won't get out of it what Janaka says that he got out of it. Because the second chapter, immediately King Janaka says, I got it. That's it. It's over. He just taught him, and then boom, it was finished. We hear this same teaching over and over and over, and it doesn't put an end to our suffering or to our ignorance. And the reason is because it's not that we're not intelligent enough. It's because the mind is not introvert enough. That's what's required. A mind that is willing to become, instead of facing out, to turn in and realize for yourself the truth of what Ashtavakra is teaching. The final point before I get to the text is that we should understand that this text didn't come just out of nowhere. It's a Advaita, non-dual text that stems from a tradition of Vedanta. It's a Vedantic text. What that means, what it teaches is the teaching of the Vedas, the Upanishads. That teaching that's found in the Upanishads, from the highest point of view, Ashtavakra is taking that Vedantic teaching. It's not an independent teaching. And what I mean by that, it's not like Ashtavakra is just an independent, he realized this thing himself, and now he's teaching. He learned it from his teachers who taught him the Vedanta. And now he's teaching it to his student, King Janaka. This is different than the idea that the guru is somehow an independent agent and he discovers the truth by himself and then he teaches you, because the guru can't understand this teaching by himself. He also had to have a teacher that brought out this truth that now Ashtavakra has fully realized. So it's a Vedantic text. This is nothing like Ramana Maharshi, which you don't need any Vedantic text. You could just ask, who am I? Or like Rupert Spiro, where you don't need any Vedanta. You just go to the satsang and he does something and you realize something. This is very different. This is a Vedantic text. And here we have a realized sage of Vedanta teaching a highly qualified student. So with that as a background, I was thinking the traditional way to study a Vedantic text is to take each verse, then to look at all the words in the verse, to discuss a lot of the meanings, and then to translate the verse and try to bring out the subtleties. And what that takes is some knowledge of Sanskrit, which I'm sure is not appropriate here. And also, it would take a tremendous amount of time. These talks will only be 3 in number. And what I don't want to do is just give a summary of the Ashtavakra Gita, because my summary will not be raised to the heights of the beauty of the text. The other problem is that the text consists of 20 chapters. It's not, I mean, if I were to do the whole text, we would be here for a couple of months. So that's also not feasible. So what I thought I would do is to try to take the first 2 chapters of Ashtavakra Gita, the song of the sage Ashtavakra, and see what he says. That's the first chapter. And then Janaka, in the second chapter, responds to the teacher, and we'll see what he says. In that context, we can touch on many subjects, and hopefully it will bring up questions in the minds of you, the listeners, and we can try to address those questions together by seeing how the text answers them and how they fit into the traditional teachings of non-duality. So I don't know how many of you actually have the text or have looked at it. It would be nice. You can download this text from the internet. It's free. You put in Ashtavakra Gita PDF, it'll come down. There are English translations. It doesn't matter which one you have. This one is the one from Swami Chinmayananda.
Mhm.
This is called Ashtavakra Gita, Swami Chinmayananda. And this one, which is much smaller because Swami Chinmayananda has a long commentary in between each verse. This text just kind of has footnotes and the text. And this is by Swami Nitya Swarupananda from the Ramakrishna Mission. That's this text. He calls it Ashtavakra Samhita. And there are others available. I think we'll be in for a treat by listening to this, even for a little while. It gives us a perspective that we normally don't have as we're going about our daily business. So hopefully everyone is in the correct mood for this, which means that their minds are ready to become somewhat introvert and try to understand in your own experience whether any of this makes sense to you. So I'll begin reading. There are places where I don't like Swami Chinmayananda's translation, and I will kind of put in a few of my own words, but in general, his is very nice and it's more poetic than the other one. So I'll read that. And it begins like this. It begins with a question. Janaka Uvacha. Janaka, King Janaka, the sage, asked this question. Teach me this, O Lord, he's addressing Ashtavakra. How can knowledge be attained? Katam jnanam avapnoti. How can somebody get knowledge? Now, knowledge of what? It's understood here because this is a Vedantic text. It means knowledge of the self. How can one attain jnanam, atma jnanam, the knowledge of the true self? How can one attain that? Katam mukti bhavishyati. How will there be liberation? How can I become liberated? This concept of mukti, of liberation in these teachings, has to be understood. Vedantic teaching is not merely for intellectual satisfaction, nor a wonderful curiosity of how different people saw things, but the whole purpose was that I want to put an end to all my suffering, all my fears, all my desires that's bothering me. And I want to be infinitely happy, unending happiness, the end of suffering and the attainment of endless bliss. That's called mukti. So philosophy was not merely for the purpose of philosophy, but that by doing this type of inquiry, self-inquiry, one could attain mukti. So Janaka says, how will I attain mukti? Because that's what he wants. He's heard that in the Upanishads it says, Brahmavid, Brahma Bhavati. The knower of the absolute becomes the absolute bliss. Brahmavid Paramapnoti. The knower of the absolute attains the highest. So what is that knowledge? He asked Ashtavakra. How will I become liberated? And the third question he asks is, Vairagyam Katam Praptam. how will I get dispassion? Because as long as the mind is filled with the passion to enjoy the external objects, it's not the fit mind to understand who the self really is. So he wants liberation. He's heard that through dispassion, you become qualified to get this knowledge, self-knowledge. So all three are related: knowledge, liberation, and dispassion. The student of this subject must be somewhat dispassionate, as long as what means an introvert mind who's lost interest in acquiring or getting rid of anything outside. So that's the three questions. Simple enough. What is knowledge? What is liberation? And how does one get dispassion? Because King Janaka must have realized that he also had passions. And how to get rid of them? Should you suppress them? Should you try to control them? Will that be the way to get dispassion? Or is there another way? So these are the three questions. Ashtavakra Uvacha, the sage Ashtavakra replied, Mukti michasi chet, if you desire liberation, O my child, then abandon the objects as though they were poison. Vishamavat, like poison, Vishayan, the objects. What this means is that it's just the insight that the objects can never bring the happiness that I'm truly seeking, because the object, to get it, takes effort, to maintain it takes effort, and in time it comes to an end. So this insight into none of these things, we have to see them that even though the mind's tendency is to seek happiness outside, the one who wants mukti, liberation, that mind has to turn away from them. It'll only turn away from them when it's convinced that the happiness that I'm seeking doesn't reside in the objects. It in fact resides in my own true nature, in my own self. That turning away is called vairagya, or dispassion. There's more to be said about this, because it doesn't mean living in a cave. It's the attitude towards the objects that's the important thing, not, in fact, how our external circumstances. It's the inner attitude towards them that's the dispassion, vairagya. So he says, if you want mukti, mukti ichasi chet, oh my son, give up the objects as though they were poison. And then, this is one of the few places in the Ashtavakra. I think we need to mute somebody. Yeah. There's one of the few places in the whole of this text where Ashtavakra is actually telling Janaka about different qualities that he should try to cultivate so that he can get this knowledge and get liberation. He says, Kshama, Arjava, Daya, Tosha, Satyam. This person who wants liberation should shun the objects like poison, and like nectar unlike poison. Like nectar, he should cultivate, he should seek to develop kshama, which means forgiveness, arjavam, which means not being a hypocrite, straightforward, not putting on a phony face for the world, arjavam, daya, compassion, the feeling of compassion for other sentient beings, and satyam, and what is truth. He should seek those, what is truth, forgiveness, straightforwardness, contentment, and truth. All of those he should seek as though it were nectar. The objects like poison, these qualities like nectar, because a person who is well established in these qualities, their mind has become fit for this type of teaching. So these moral and character traits, in the Bhagavad Gita, it lists even more. Lack of egotism, lack of boastfulness, arjavam, straightforwardness, control of the senses, lack of egotism. He lists all of those qualities here in very short form. Ashtavakra is teaching the same. This is the only place where he comes down to the relative, because from the relative point of view, you are a seeker, you are running after the objects of desire, you have to develop all of these qualities. None of this is true. This is not the absolute point of view. But from the point of view of the seeker, who wants to know the self, who wants liberation, who wants to know how to become dispassionate, this is the teaching that's given. The third shloka says, you are neither earth, nor water, nor fire, nor air, nor space. These are the five elements that in the ancient days, unlike now we have 108 elements, the period, they basically divided nature into five basic elements. And that everything was made up of this. Everything is made up of earth or water or fire or space. Space, air, fire, water, earth. And this body is also made up of those five elements. Not only that, the senses are also made up of those elements. And even the mind, which is part of the world, is made up of those elements. But Ashtavakra says, and this body, mind, and senses, which is made up of the five elements, everybody says, I am this. I am the earth and the liquid and the heat in the body and the space in the body. This is who I am. Ashtavakra says, you are not any of those elements. You are neither earth, nor water, nor fire, nor air, nor space. In order to attain freedom, if you want liberation, Esham sakshinam atmanam chitrupam vidhi. Know yourself to be pure consciousness, which is the witness of the elements. In the five fundamentals of Vedanta, besides the one fundamental of the absolute and the relative, the very first fundamental was this, that the self that is taught in Vedanta is not the ego. which is also made up of the 5 elements. It's just a thought in the mind, the ego. And the mind is also made up of elements. But the witness of that thought, I am happy, I am sad, I am thin, I am fat, I am going, I am coming, I believe, I don't believe. Those thoughts arise, abide, and set in that witnessing consciousness. Esham Sakshinam, of those 5 elements, Sakshinam, being the self who's the witness of those. When I say I am thin or I am fat, I've taken the witness to be the witnessed. The objects like earth, water, fire, space are all phenomena that appear in consciousness. They're witnessed by consciousness. But everyone says, I have a fever, I am fat, I see. We identify with this, and that is the bondage. Even though I'm the witness, I take myself to be the witnessed. Everybody does this. You're the witness of your thoughts. You're the witness of your body. Not only that, you're going to see there's a verse that says, not only are you the witness of your body, you're the witness of the whole universe. Not only does the body appear to you, but time, space, causality, the whole waking state, in fact, with all the people in it, appeared to you. That's the witness. It never changes. It's always pure. It's always awake. It's always free. It never does anything. It can't be sullied by anything. It's unattached to anything. So here's the Vedantic teaching that the true self in everyone is that witness in you that's witnessing every thought. We never take note of this witness because we think the thoughts are conscious. But if you examine, you'll see that the thoughts are objects and they're not the subject. Thoughts come and go. To who? Thoughts appear and disappear. To who? They can't know themselves. They can't know when they're gone because they're gone. If they're changing, the only way they could be changing is if there was some unchanging principle that was aware of their presence and absence. That principle is called the witnessing self, which is pure consciousness. You are not any of the elements. You are the witness of them, which is Chit Rupam, which is in the form of pure consciousness. You should know that if you want to be free. Janaka asked him, how does one become free? We all identify with the 5 elements in the form of the body, mind, and senses. If you want to be free, you have to recognize that your true nature is the witness of these elements and never affected by them, unattached. Like a mirror, whatever appears in it never affects the mirror. Like a movie screen on which the movie is going on, but the screen is unattached, unaffected, ever the same. In the same way, you are the witness in which all duality is appearing. This is the unique teaching of Vedanta, that there is a self, but it's not the ego, it's the witness that witnesses everything, including the ego. I'll say more about this as the text goes on. You should know that I am the witness and not the witnessed. What is the witnessed? Is the body the witness or the witnessed? Is it an object or the subject? We think the body's the subject. I, the body, am the conscious being. But if you examine, you'll see, just like the cup that's an object and not me, the body also is an object that appears and disappears to me. That me can't be, the subject can't be the object. So we have to see, what is the object? Is the body object or subject? When a person does this type of discrimination, he realizes that the body is an object, I'm the witness. And when he realizes that, he realizes, I am liberated, because none of those things, the 5 elements, affect me at all. You should know yourself to be the witness who is pure consciousness. Sakshi Atmanam Chitti Rupam Vidhi Muktaye. You know, if you want to be free, Janaka, you're going to have to realize that you're not Janaka, but you're the witness. That teaching that is being addressed to Janaka applies to everyone, universally. Every one of us is the witness of our thoughts and the witness of the whole universe. The universe appears to me, just like the dream universe appears to me. This whole waking state of subject and object appeared in the light of my consciousness. If you want to be free, you have to realize that. Chitrupam Vidhi Muktaye. For liberation, that's what has to be. I take myself to be the witnessed. It's a mistake. I seem as though I'm bound. When I take myself to be the witness, then I'm not bound at all, because the witness is ever free, ever unattached, ever the same, the only reality, because it never changes. The witnessed is always changing. The witness never changes. The witnessed is object. The witness is subject. The witnessed, in fact, has no consciousness, and the witness is pure consciousness. This is the discrimination that Ashtavakra is trying to teach Janaka, the highly qualified student. Boom, you are not any of the elements. You are the witness of them. If you know that, you should know that if you want to become liberated. You do not belong to the Brahmana or any such other caste. You have to remember, whether this text is from the 14th century or from BC, the culture at that time was divided into 2 sections. According to your caste, and there were 4 castes, the priestly caste was the Brahmanas, the military warrior caste was the Kshatriyas, the business and agricultural class was the Vaishyavas, and the servant class was called the Shudras. And this was the Vedic culture. And everybody had a particular place in the culture, and if you follow your thing, the culture worked harmoniously. That was the idea. The point is that a person who feels, I am a Brahmana, a priest, it's because he's identified with this body. If a person feels, I'm a warrior, it's the body that's a warrior, not the witness. If a person, so he tells him, you are not of any caste, nor are you of any stage of life. What that means is there were two things in Vedic, in ancient times in India, where this dialogue is taking place. One is the caste system, the four castes, and there were four stages of life. I'll just quickly, for those who don't know, the first stage of life begins as a student. That's called brahmachari. At the age of 12, you get this thread, and that entitles you to either study the Vedas if you're a priestly caste, or to learn archery if you're a warrior caste, to learn business, etc. So first you become a student, then you get married. It's called grahastha. When the children are all grown up and have left the house, you downsize and you move with your spouse to the forest to live a more spiritual life, to dedicate your life more towards spiritual activities. That's called vanaprastha, retirement after the children are gone. And the final stage of life was that if you're really dispassionate, you even leave the little house in the forest and you go wandering and begging for your food. That's called a sannyasi. So those were the four ashramas: student, householder, retiree, and renunciate. But Ashtavakra says, you have no caste and you have no station in life. You don't belong, you're not a brahmachari, you're not a grahastha, a householder, you're not a retired, and you're not a wandering monk. You do not belong to the Brahmana or any other caste, nor do you belong to any station of life, ashrama. You are not perceivable by the senses, na aksha gochara. This witness in you, which is not a Brahmana, not a caste, the witness has no stage of life, it has no caste, and it's not an object of the senses. You can't see the witness. With your eyes, you can see colors and forms, but the witness has no color or form. With the ears, you can hear sounds, but the witness has no sound. So we have no available senses by which we can know the witness. It's not an object of the senses or the mind. Whatever the mind thinks of, whatever concept it forms, that's not the witness, because you're the witness of that concept. But that concept can't objectify the witness. So it says, na aksha gochara. You are not the object of any sense organ. You are asango, unattached. That witness is unattached. Whatever is being witnessed doesn't affect the witness. He's always unattached. There's no relationship between them. It's like the sun that lights up the earth. And there's all this activity going on the earth. But the sun is just light. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't change. Its nature is just light. It has no activity. And whatever happens, the sun is unattached. If somebody on the earth gets hit by a car, the sun is asango. yourself, whatever happens in the 5 elements, whatever is appearing, doesn't affect the witness who's lighting up whatever's appearing. Asango asi, nirakaro, you have no form. What's the form of the witness? Is it big, small, square, round? It's the witness of all of those ideas, but it has no form. It's formless. It's unattached. Vishvasakshi, it's a beautiful Sanskrit. It's the witness of the whole universe, not just your thoughts. All the thoughts appear in that witness, but even the Vishva, the whole universe, appears in that same witness. The witness is not just an individual, like I have my witness and you have your witness and everybody has their own witness, because the witness is witnessing the whole universe, including time, space, causality. So the witness is not in time or space. So how many witnesses are there? If the witness in you is not in time or space, how many witnesses are there? I am the one witness in which everything appears. Ira, my house, my wife, my children, my friends, my enemy. The whole thing appears for a while and then it disappears to me. And then a dream can appear to me. That me, which the waking is appearing and the dream is appearing, the whole universe of the waking and the whole universe of the dream, they both appear to me. That me is called the witness, the pure consciousness, Chit Rupa. I have no form. I am the witness of the whole universe. Sukhi Bhava, be happy. This is what Ashtavakra tells Janaka, the king. How can I get knowledge? How can I get liberation? How can I get... He says, you're the witness of the whole universe. Be happy. If you recognize that I am that witness of the whole universe, asango, unattached by anything, formless, therefore nothing can touch me. That realization should make us quite happy, because before that realization, I thought that I was this little person born in a world that's infinite, going to be here for a few minutes and then die. That's what I thought. But now I see myself as the witness of the whole universe, and that I'm unattached to any of it. That realization in your own experience, he's telling him you should know this, not believe it, but see the fact of it. Is it a fact? Is it your experience? You do not belong to the Brahman, any caste, or any stage of life. You are not perceivable by the senses, unattached, formless. You are the witness of the whole universe. Be happy. Virtue and vice, in Sanskrit, is called dharma and adharma. Leading a righteous life is called dharma. Adharma, leading a life that goes against dharma, an unrighteous life. Dharma, adharma, both of those, sukham, dukkam, happiness and sorrow, manasi, they are all in the mind. These things, happiness, where does it belong? Is happiness in the witness or is happiness in the mind? Is it an object? Is it something known to you? Is dharma, righteousness, object or subject? Is adharma, unrighteousness, subject or object? Sukha, dukkha, they're all in the mind. Manasi, nate, not in you, who are all pervading, vibhu. That witness is called the all pervading reality. What that means is when the dream appears, you, the witness of the dream, pervade the whole dream. You're the truth of the dream. Without you, there's no dream. The dream's existence depends on you. So you are said to be the pervader of all, the essence, the truth of all. But this idea that the witness pervades everything doesn't mean there's a world and there's a witness that pervades it. It's like ice. Water pervades an ice cube. There's not two things. The essence of the ice cube is water. The essence of the dream is yourself. There's nothing there except you. The dream is just appearing in you. You are the truth of the dream. So here he says, all of this exists in the mind. You who are all pervading, vibhu. Na kartasi. You are not the agent. Every one of us, because we identify with this body, mind, and senses, I am this, and this is mine. That's natural for everyone. We're all identified with the object, the witnessed. Because of that, when the body moves, I say, I'm moving. When the body is still, I say, I'm still. Because I've identified with the object. I am the doer. I, the witness, which never does anything. It's not in time. It has no parts. It can't change. It doesn't do anything. But I, identified with this, I become the doer. I am the doer. In this teaching, that idea that I'm the doer is very important, because in the ancient days, the idea was that I am an agent and I have to follow all of the religious prescriptions and do all of the duties. And I'm the agent of those duties. And if I do them properly, I'm going to get a reward when I die and go to heaven. That idea that I'm the doer of the ritual, I'm the doer of the action, can only be if I've identified the witness with the witnessed. That mixing up of myself with the not self, the witnessed with the witness, makes me feel I am the doer. I am doing this, not only that I'm the doer, but that the fruit of that action, I'm going to have to enjoy. If I put my finger in the fire, I did it, I got the result. I'm the enjoyer. Because once I identify with this not self, this object, the body, mind, senses, and ego, then I become a doer. So the crucial thing is to get freed from this delusion that I'm a doer. The self never does anything. It's not even in time. It can't do anything. It's the witness of time. So he says, na karta asi, you are not the agent. Na bhokta asi, you are not the enjoyer. Only if I have a body, mind, and senses can I do things and enjoy things. Look at the experience I have of deep sleep. In deep sleep, I'm not identified with this body, and I'm not enjoying anything. That idea that I'm a doer and an enjoyer only appears in the waking and in the dream, but it disappears in deep sleep. So that can't be my true nature. That I am a doer, that I am an enjoyer. You are not the doer, you are not the enjoyer. Mukta ivasi. You are liberated. The witness is always free. You are, that's who you are. The Mukta Atma, the self who's ever free. You're not the doer or the enjoyer. Because to be a doer or enjoyer, you have to identify with the 5 elements. And he already said, you can't be the elements because they're witnessed and you're the witness. You are the one seer of all. You, Janaka, your true nature, who you really are the one seer of all. Eko drashtasi sarvasya. You are the one drashta, the direct seer. How do you see the dream? Do you see it with your eyes? How do you hear the sounds in the dream? Do you hear it with your ears? The whole dream is seen by you. How many people are seeing the dream? There's one. Eko drashtasi. You are the one seer. There's not many seers here. There's only one self in all beings. That one witnessing consciousness. Eko drashtasi. You are that one seer. What are you the seer of? Sarvasya, of everything. You are the seer of everything. 1 second, I'm only the seer of my own thoughts. I don't know Evelyn's thoughts. I don't know Paul's thoughts. How could I be the seer of everything? The consciousness that's in Evelyn and Paul is the same consciousness that's in me. The consciousness in me is seeing my thoughts. That same consciousness that's in Evelyn is seeing Evelyn's thoughts. One seer seeing all the thoughts. That's the idea. Eko drashta. There is one seer of everything. You are fully liberated because if you're the one seer of everything, if that's true, and when I say if that's true, it's not a religious belief. It's not something that you should take on faith, nor is it something that you should believe because somebody with an orange robe or a long beard or some authority, you accept it. Whether you're the witness or the witnessed is something that you have to verify here and now and understand what is the truth of it. So he says, even though you are the one seer of everything, you are the one seer of all, and you are surely ever free. He's talking to the king. Indeed, this alone is your bondage, that you see yourself not as the seer, but as the seen. That is the bondage. Even though you're the seer, the witness, the knower, you see yourself as the seen. You've mixed up yourself with the not self. I am fact. I am blind. I am deaf. The I identified, that is the bondage. It's a mistake. The witness is never the witnessed. Even when you say, I am fat, you're the witness of that thought. I am sick, I am happy, I am worried, I am anxious, I am depressed, all mental phenomena. You've identified, and they're all objects that are coming and going to you, but you've identified, and that is your bondage. This in Vedanta is called ignorance. Even though I'm the witness, and even though this body and the whole universe is the witness, I've identified wrongly, and I say, I was born, I'm getting old, I'm getting sick, I'm gonna die. That witness, which is never born, which never gets old, which never gets sick, and which never dies, because of our identification, false identification with the witness, I am bound. It's not a real bondage. You're always the witness. Even when you take yourself to be this body, the self remains ever free. But because of ignorance of that fact, everybody naturally feels, I am this. This wrong idea is called bondage. This ignorance about my true nature and mistaking it for something that it's not is called ignorance. That ignorance is the cause of bondage, nothing else. You are ever free. You don't have to become free. But because you've mixed up yourself with what you're not, you seem as though bound. You are the one seer of all, and you are surely ever free. Indeed, this alone is your bondage, that you see yourself not as the seer, but as something different, the seen. We all take ourselves, I am this. This is the seen. I is the subject. They've been identified, I am. This wrong idea is the cause of bondage. And until we find a sage like Ashtavakra, who can point out the ignorance, because we don't know we're in ignorance. We take it to be true. I was born, I am getting old, I am going to get sick and die. We don't know that that's ignorance. It's the teacher that points out this fact that my bondage is because of my ignorance of my true nature. Your bondage is that you see yourself not as the witness, but as the witness. You have been bitten by the great black snake of egoism. Egoism, in Sanskrit, the word is not, there's no ego. It really means I sense. Aham kara, the I notion. When we translate that word, I notion, we translate it as ego. As long as we remember the word ego in Vedanta is not the Freudian ego with all of the baggage. It just means the notion that I have about myself, that I'm a man, that I have this kind of complexion, that I am tall or short. This idea about myself is called the ahamkara. That's the ego. So here you can just use the ego word for the idea that the idea who I think I am is the ego. So he says, I am without hands and legs, of incomprehensible power. I who see without eyes, I who hear without ears, am devoid of all forms. I am knowing everything. and there is none that knows me. I am knowing everything, and there is none that knows me. Now here's the problem. The very first question he says, what is knowledge? Self-knowledge. You have to know the self. How do I get to know the self? But here Ashtavakra is saying, nobody knows me. Nobody could ever know the self as an object of knowledge. Not the rishis, not the sages, nobody. Because whatever you think of can't be that. It can't be thought of. The Upanishads have a beautiful verse that says, Yad vacho aprapya anuvartante manasasa. That which can't be described by words, having failed to reach, return along with the mind. Words can't describe it, the mind can't conceive of it. So nobody could know it as an object. It has to be known as the unknown subject. The subject that doesn't have to be objectified, because the subject is self-lit. The subject in you doesn't need another subject to know that you're the subject. The object needs a subject. Without the subject, no object can appear. But what do you need to know the subject? You, the witness. Do you need another witness to know that you're the witness of your thoughts? Or is it self-evident, self-established? You don't need any other witness to know you're the witness of your thoughts. It's your direct experience. I am without hands and legs, of incomparable power. I, who see without ears, eyes, hear without ears. I am devoid of all forms. I know everything, and there is none that knows me. I am the ever pure knowledge. I am the ever pure knowledge. The very nature of the self is knowledge. The scripture says, Satyam Jnanam Anantam. It is truth, it is knowledge, it is infinite. Jnanam. Knowledge is not something that's produced by the mind. Normally we think when the mind cognizes an object, I get the knowledge of the object, that knowledge is born. But the knowledge of the self is the very nature. It's the eternal knower whose very nature is knowledge. And nobody can know it as an object of knowledge. It's the eternal subject which can never be objectified, but which doesn't have to be objectified because you can intuit it as your true nature without objectifying it. You have been bitten by the great black serpent of egotism, of I am the doer. Please drink the nectar of the belief, I am not the doer, and be happy. This idea that I'm the doer is the bondage. That I think that I'm doing something, that I'm thinking, that I'm seeing, that I'm talking. I'm the doer. This very root belief that we all have, I'm the agent. I lifted my arm. I put it down. That's what I did. I'm the agent. This belief that I am the doer is the black serpent of egotism that we've been all bitten with. And we should drink the nectar of the belief, Vishvasa Amritam, the belief, the nectarine belief that I am not the doer. I am not the doer. How do you get that belief? by directly recognizing a fact that I'm the witness and I don't do anything. By that recognition, the idea I am the doer, which is the black serpent that has bitten all of us, will be put to an end. That nectar puts an end to the poison. It's the medicine that's required. 9, having thus burnt down the forest of ignorance. What is ignorance? The wrong idea that the self is the not self, that the witness is the witnessed. This ignorance, having burnt down the forest of ignorance, because of this ignorance, it becomes a forest of samsara. Once I'm this body, mind, and senses, then I have children that get in trouble. Then I have a wife who doesn't feel good. And then I have a bank account that's going down. And I have a COVID virus that, as long as I've identified with the not self, then I must suffer. This is the ignorance. You have to burn it down with the knowledge, I am that. I am that absolute pure consciousness, which is the witness of everything and is unaffected, unattached, and ever free and ever blissful. Having burnt down the fire of ignorance with the fire of certitude, Nishchaya Manahi, by when the teacher points this fact out to the student who's qualified for this teaching, whose mind is subtle and pure and introvert and turned away from the outer objects, when this student hears this teaching and recognizes I am that witnessing consciousness, which is the same as the absolute one reality, when he realizes that fact, he doesn't believe it. If I tell you there's money in that hole there, you have to believe it. But if you dig up the hole and you get the money in your hand, you don't have to believe it. It's your experience. That's what's required. That certitude that I am the one, pure consciousness, free from all grief, vita shokaha, because of my identification with this body, mind, senses, and ego, I'm in grief. You must suffer. This body is going to get sick. Your loved ones will get sick. Things are changing. You can't hold on to anything. All of that shoka is caused by not knowing who you are, that you are infinite bliss, ever free from grief. There's no grief in you. Grief also is just in the mind, an object that appears and disappears like a bubble popping up in the ocean. The ocean is unaffected. You are that consciousness bliss, supreme bliss, upon which this universe appears. You are the consciousness bliss, the supreme bliss upon which this universe appears. The only way you can recognize whether this is true is to see your experience of the waking state, how the whole state appears to you with the whole universe, the waking world, that seem so real that we perceive with our eyes and hear and feel and reason and appears absolutely real. The whole thing is appearing to you. If you can take that stand, then you can understand what Ashtavakra is telling Janaka. If you remain as an individual and you're just the witness of your own thoughts, then you can't see the one self of the whole universe. You are that consciousness, bliss, supreme bliss upon which this universe appears. The universe appears where? It appears in your consciousness, nowhere else. It can't appear anywhere else. It appears to you. And that universe is like a rope on a snake. It's appearing like a rope on a snake. Raju Surpavat. It is superimposed like a snake on a rope. Live happily as that blissful consciousness. Let me just say one thing about this example. There's a rope. Because I don't know it's a rope, because I'm ignorant of the rope, in my ignorance, I mistake the rope as a snake. Oh, there's a snake there. The snake appeared to me. That snake is not a second thing apart from the rope. The truth of the snake, there is a truth to the snake. The rope is the truth of it. The existence of the snake is to be found in the rope. There's nothing else there but a rope. There's not two things there. It's a rope that's appearing as a snake, but in truth, it's only a rope. Because of my ignorance that it's only a rope, I took it to be a snake. But even when I took it to be a snake, it was still just a rope. And when I realized, oh, it's only a rope, no snake was destroyed. There never was a snake there at any time, even when it appeared, because it was just superimposed by ignorance. Even though it appeared to exist, in truth, it didn't exist. It was appearing due to ignorance. When through knowledge, I know the rope, the appearance of the snake is gone. I don't feel like, oh, there was a snake and it got destroyed. I realize, oh, there never was a snake. There was only a rope. That's the example of the rope and the snake. There's not two things. There's only the self. Because we're ignorant of the self, because I don't know that I'm the witness, I've mistaken myself to be the witness. I've superimposed on myself this body, mind, senses, ego, and the whole universe. It's all superimposed on me. What does that mean? Just like in the example, there never really was a universe. There was only the self. But because I didn't know the self, I mistook it as the universe. This is not an easy concept, but I'll bring it up again in more classes. If you understand that truth, then Ashtavakra says, Janaka, you should be able to live happily. When you realize that you are that consciousness bliss supreme, and the whole universe is just a superimposition on me, that means even though it appears to exist, in truth it never was, it isn't now, it'll never be. All of this, sarvam midam, atma eva, is the self alone. Only the self is the truth. This is what he's saying. It's appearing due to ignorance. When your ignorance is gone, the universe will not appear. Just like when your ignorance of the rope is gone, it's not that there'll be no more snake. There never was, is, or will be a snake. It's not like the snake got destroyed. You realize it's only a rope. All of this, sarvam midam, atma eva, is the self alone. There's no two things, the world and the self. You've mistaken the self as the world. You've taken the witness as the witnessed. But the witnessed is appearing in you. It abides in you. It merges in you. It has no existence apart from you. You're the truth. You pervade it. You're the reality of it. Just like the rope pervades the snake. It's the reality of the snake. There's no two things there. That's why it's called Advaita, non-duality.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think at this point, what is it? 8:30? Okay. Let me just see, what are we up to? 10. So there's 20 verses just in this first chapter. So let's stop here. And it's something that you can read now, these verses yourself. Hopefully, I've given some context to the whole thing, and it has a deeper meaning, perhaps. If anyone has any questions or would like to discuss anything that I said about the text or the teaching or Vedanta or the qualified student or the empirical point of view and the absolute point of view, if there's any clarification needed or comments about what is going on here, we can do that for a few minutes if anybody has anything to say. You can unmute yourself. Okay. These type of talks, from experience, I've been doing this for 20, 30 years now. The question and answer period generally is, I can't formulate a question. What can I say here? So no question comes. If you think about it deeply, can this universe really be like a snake on a rope? Could it be out of ignorance? The world is so real. How could it be just an imagination? Is this teaching even possible? Is what Ashtavakra is saying, does it make sense? Is it in my experience? Or is this some esoteric thing from the past that has no relevance to me? These are the questions to see if the teaching is sinking in, because the truth of this teaching, you can't know it with reasoning. You can't know it through any concepts. You can't try to describe it. It's beyond all words. So the only faculty that we have, I like to call it the spiritual faculty of the mind. It's different than the intellect. No matter how smart you are, you still feel I'm the doer, I'm the enjoyer. It has nothing to do with the intellect. And the senses, which he said in the text, can never reveal the witness. No matter where you look, you'll see objects, forms. The witness can't be known through the senses. It can't be described by words. But we can, if we turn the mind back, that's another faculty The capacity of the mind to turn inwards is called the spiritual faculty of the mind. Why? Because when the mind turns inwards, it's able to recognize the fact that I am the witness of all phenomena. That's my true nature. We can intuit that fact when the mind becomes subtle and pure and introvert, like Janaka. He can hear this teaching, and because he's intuited the witness for himself, when he hears Ashtavakra talking, it's not just words, but he can verify, I am the witness of all the elements. I'm not any of the elements. I am unattached. He can understand that intuitively, not with the mind, not with the senses, not with reasoning, because to know that you're the witness of all reasoning, of all sense organs, can't be known through reasoning or the sense organs. You have to intuit the fact of the matter. Are the thoughts object or subject? The only way is through intuition. If you haven't turned inwards and seen what is the object and who is the subject, what is changing and what is not changing, what is appearing and disappearing and what is ever the same, if you're not able to intuit that, then this teaching is like singing to the deaf. The words mean nothing. But for a person whose mind is introvert and can intuit that, when he hears this teaching, he realizes the truth of that witness in me is who I am, and that witness, in fact, is the non-dual reality. Even though the witness is a dualistic term, witness, witnessed, the witness, in fact, is Brahman, the non-dual. It doesn't witness anything. The witness never witnessed anything. If the witness really ever witnessed anything, duality would be real. He's only called the witness to get rid of the idea that he's the witnessed. But when we see that the witnessed is just an appearance in consciousness, it's like a snake on a rope. It has no existence. When I know consciousness, then I know it's one without a second. Then there's no witnessed. That's called non-duality. Janaka, Ashtavakra is going to take us there in the next few verses. So let's end the class with that. It's a traditional prayer that these classes end with. So let me do that, please, and end the class. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. That witness is full. This witness is full. From that witness, which is fullness, this fullness has appeared. Take this fullness away, and fullness alone remains. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. I'll see you guys next Thursday.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Night. Thank you, Ira.